Ronnie.
Yes, what's up, man?
I'm okay. You good?
I'm good.
Long time.
Okay.
I'm okay. I'm fine.
I'm great.
I'm chilled. Okay.
Hi there. I'm Ronald Arufandika. This is Mtho. This is Power Sports. We're going to be, for the next couple of minutes, discussing what took place over the weekend. We relive the action. So much took place. Something emotional in the world of tennis. We're going to talk about the Australian Open, a three-peat for Carlos Alvarez. We're going to talk about the EPL. We also get to talk about the La Liga and what's been happening. Remember, Zimbabwe is hosting the Under-19 World Cup, so we have to talk about that a little bit. We're now at the semi-final stage. So maybe let's start with that. India booked their place in the semi-final. They're going to face Afghanistan. They beat Pakistan by 58 runs. That was yesterday. So the game is going to be played at the Rara Sports Club. That is in the semi-final. They face against Afghanistan, a country that over the has been improving. They keep on improving in terms of cricket in both formats. So it should be a great matchup. The other game will see Ashes rivals, that is Australia and England. Promises to be a crack of a match. That is the other semi-final. So we're sport for choice in terms of the cricket under-19. Remember, this is the future of cricket. New stars are being born, and it's an honor for the fact that Zimbabwe is hosting. Remember, the 2027 World Cup is also going to be, the 50 overs format is also going to be hosted here in Zimbabwe. So we're super excited for that. The culture of cricket continues to grow. And then now let's move on to talk about, of course, your favorite, Novak Djokovic, not the record-extending victory you would have wanted in terms of the Australian Open, but it has to be one of the best finals we've seen in recent years.
Yeah, definitely. Everyone thought Carlos Alcaraz was going to have him by the neck, and they thought Novak Djokovic is too old. He's obviously not going to last the distance. You saw off Yannick Sinner in the previous round, and Novak Djokovic's second serve was brilliant, I think averaging around 170 kilometers per hour in some instances, and he showed that just like wine is getting better with edge. Novak Djokovic in this particular final, a bit unlucky. I felt he did a lot, and obviously the final could have gone either way, but he needed a bit of luck and spot. I think misfortune always has a tendency of following the unfortunate, but I'm obviously buzzing for Carlos Alcaraz because Carlos Alcaraz, remember, he just completed his career Grand Slam this weekend, and he's obviously won all 4 Grand Slams. He's got the Australian Open, he's got the French Open, he's previously won Wimbledon, and now he's obviously added other titles there. So it's a career Grand Slam. And to add to that, he's also the youngest man to have ever won a career Grand Slam. We know that it has previously been done, but Carlos Alcaraz wins it in 22 years, 258 days, which is a record. This is a record that has stood for 80 plus years. That's 8 decades and still counting, and it was broken over the weekend by the young Spaniard. Other people to have achieved that particular feat, having won a career Grand Slam, you've got obvious names, the real suspects. Rafa Nadal is there, Roger Federer is also there, Novak Djokovic, obviously the person was defeated by Carlos Alcaraz in this weekend's final, he has obviously done it. Andre Agassi is also there, and Rod Laver. So only 6 men in history have managed to win a career Grand Slam. But what I'm happy about is that Carlos Alcaraz didn't only win his first ever Australian Open, he's won it against a man who's done it on 10 different occasions. And this is Novak Djokovic looking to create history, being the only man to eventually win the Australian Open for the 11th time. It wasn't to be for Nole, but then he's 38 years and not out. And just like wine, he's getting better with edge. And I know he's going to be there, and he's going to give the young kids a good run for their money.
Good run for their money. So I don't know if we're now, can we say it's the end of an era? Are we now probably now in the Yannick Sinner or Carlos Alcaraz era? Are they the new sheriffs in town?
Obviously, they're the new sheriffs in town, but then obviously the old guys are still there and they're standing to be counted, and no better guy than Novak Djokovic. Obviously, Rafa Nadal was set in the stands. He's no longer a part of that. He hung his racket. So I feel Novak Djokovic, the performances that he produced at this Australian Open. Also, remember, he was a doubt going into the tournament. He suffered heavy breathing against Yannick Sinner in the semi-final, but then he shrugged that off to one side and concentrated on what needed to be done, which is performing at the highest stage. So I feel Novak Djokovic is obviously going to go out with the fight. He's going to go down with the fight, and he's obviously going to have a say in how things are going to develop in tennis. But the likes of Yannick Sinner and Carlos Alcaraz, there is no doubting that they are the new people. If it were in football, obviously the Mbappe and the Erling Haalands of this world in recent memory. So I feel it is a shift of power of some sorts, but then Novak Djokovic is going to be there and is here to stay.
Is here to stay. Now let's move on to international football. football, a weekend of drama. We saw a couple of comeback victories. We saw a couple of teams, games of different halves, and so much drama, especially in the post-match conferences from Rodri. We'll talk about that. But it's getting to heat up. I know it's only February, rather, in the EPL. It's too early to say that, someone has won the title already. So much football left to be played. But it's starting to show as if it's Arsenal's to lose, because those behind them, those that are meant to challenge them, seem not to have found their right footing. I'm talking about Aston Villa and Manchester City. We saw them drop points. Manchester City dropping a 2-0 victory lead, rather, against Spurs, which have always been a boogie side for them. We also saw Aston Villa stand at home by Brentford. Now, what does that say about Arsenal? Are we now at a stage where it's difficult to lose the title than to win the title for Arsenal?
If ever there was an Oscar for bottling the Premiership titles or any titles in football, you'd obviously hand it over to Arsenal, an Oscars or a Grammy. Yeah, but I feel this time around is going to be, 25th time lucky. The last title came in 2004. It's 21 years, and Arsenal have been trying to win the title, and they've been failing. And I feel this is their year, because one, the chasing teams are not obviously serious. They're not obviously performing very well. Manchester City is unlike the Manchester City of yesteryear, the ones that are the likes of KDB at the height of his powers, the Manchester City that had Yaya Toure, Kun Aguero, only but just to mention a few stars over the years. It's a different Manchester City, a lot of inconsistencies. And remember, Man City has only won one of their last 6 Premier League matches, and that is not Premiership winning their form. So I feel Manchester City don't have the beat between their teeth. Liverpool, they are obviously going to go down as one of the worst title defenders of all time, because they've been struggling. I know they got off the blocks quickest. They won 5 of their first 5 Premier League matches of the season, but then they went on that dismal run where they could hardly find a win from anywhere. And the likes of United, they only hired Michael Carrick now, and I don't think they have enough time to mount a serious title challenge. Chelsea have huffed and puffed. They've blown hot and cold, so much inconsistent, and they've flattered to deceive throughout the course of the season. I don't think Chelsea have what it takes to obviously take Arsenal down to the wire. So for that particular reason, I know Mikel Arteta is a master at bottling, and Arsenal are, with all due respect, and they have been doing that for a couple of years now. But I feel this season, if they don't win it, then Mikel Arteta has to hang and walk, and they have to obviously look for a different manager who's going to bring in titles.
Let's talk about Manchester City a little bit, because we hear that Xabi Alonso has been shortlisted as one of the contenders to take over Pep Guardiola, because it's rumored it could be his last season. But I want us to react to Rodri, the Ballon d'Or winner, post-match. They've just lost a lead against Spurs, and the game is ended 2-2. And then he dropped a bombshell when he says the referees don't want us. There's a conspiracy theory that they don't want us to win the league, because he deemed Dominic Solanke's first goal as a foul. What does that say in terms of mentality when you've got your captain saying that there is a whole world fighting against us, they don't want to win because of a refereeing decision? Is it taking accountability, not taking accountability really, or he's onto something?
I think Rodri, obviously, he's right in parts, partially, because that goal should have been awarded, in my opinion, because Dom Solanke went through Mark Gay to kick that football. It should have been checked by VAR, but VAR only checked the offside, and they didn't go the extra mile to check whether it was a foul or not. So for that particular reason, he's right. But then obviously you can't be whining and crying and blaming, putting blame on other people's shoulders to say the refs don't want City to win. You have a 2-goal lead against Spurs. This is a Spurs team that were missing 11 first-team players. People were being played in positions that they are not used to. João Palhinha played in central defense yesterday. There was obviously Dragusin, who's not been playing for City, only came back from an ACL. He's been out for the best part of a year or so. He's only played twice for Tottenham in the last calendar year and still counting. So I feel Manchester City only have themselves to blame, and they are losing form at the business end of the season, which is a very crucial part of the season. You look at guys like Erling Haaland. Erling Haaland was flying when the season started, but then now in the last 10 matches, only got 2 goals, and one of those 2 goals was from open play. The other goal was from a penalty kick, and this is a guy who's a top marksman, arguably the best striker in Europe, but is finding it difficult to score goals. And yesterday didn't even have a shot on target, as if that's not enough. So I feel City have been masters of their own undoing, and they've been shooting themselves in the foot, and they can't be blaming referees. You've got a two-goal lead going into halftime, and you blow that away. And if anything, it was a match of two halves. City dominating the first half, Tottenham dominated the second half, and I feel Xavi Simons was easy on the eye yesterday. His best match in the Spurs shirt ever since he joined from RB Leipzig in the summer. I feel Tottenham are going to be kicking themselves not to have gotten something more than just a draw out of that match.
Okay, so let's see, as we round up what's been happening in the EPL, the rest, we're talking about the rest for the title. There's a fight that's brewing for the Champions League places. You've got a resurgent Manchester United under Carrick 3-3. You've also got a resurgent Chelsea under Liam Rosinia, and the Liverpool that, put Newcastle to the sword over the weekend. How do you see that panning out? Who do you think are they going to be able to close down City and Aston Villa? And how do you see the rest of the season panning out?
I think this is going to go down as the most open Premier League season of all time, because City, they're not consistent. Villa themselves also won winning their last 6, just like City. Arsenal themselves, they're top of the league, but then they're not as consistent as you develop them to be. United picking up form in the last 3 matches, 3 in 3 for Michael Carrick. It's 9 points out of 9. Yeah. This is a feat that Ruben Amorim only managed to do once in his career, and Carrick has come and made light work of it and won his first 3 matches in the job. And they were not easy fixtures. By the way, you've got City at Old Trafford, you've got Arsenal at the Emirates, where they have not lost the entire season. You go there, you blow them away. It's not only the result, the performance is also there for everyone to see. So I feel for that particular reason, United have been resurgent. Chelsea, Liam Rosinia, we can blame him all we want, but then the results are there. I know there's that isolated result against Fulham where he lost, but then other than that, he's gone to Napoli. I know he's in the Champions League and won. He's come back, he's won against West Ham. I know it wasn't a good start from Chelsea. So I feel the teams have been picking up form at the right stage of the season. If you had to ask me for a wild guess in terms of who's going to finish in those top 4-5 places, it will be Arsenal, City, obviously United, Aston Villa and Chelsea. I feel Liverpool are going to lose out on a place in the Champions League, and they're going to be good for the Europa League.
Okay, so as we round up, Real Madrid left it late to win. They haven't quite found their right footing, is it? But they're a team that always does well at the business end of the season, and of course they've got some great players within their ranks. Arbeloa, he's relatively unproven at this level, but they got the scrappy win. Do you see them going on to finish the season as you may expect, what they expected every season, to win the Champions League, to win La Liga? But do they have the right players, the right pieces to make up the puzzle?
Are you questioning the players that are in Real Madrid's ranks? Obviously, if it's a team with the likes of Kylian Mbappe, who's arguably the best footballer in the world, in my opinion, of this new generation, the amount of goals that he scores, the dribbles, everything. He's a complete footballer. He can go left, he goes right. He's got all types of finishes. He's got Vinicius Jr. was on the podium for the Ballon d'Or a couple of years ago. You also have Jude Bellingham also on the podium. They're injured over the weekend. Yeah, it's said, but it's only for a month. I think they'll be fine. The likes of Eduardo Camavinga have come through. I feel people give a lot of stick to Real Madrid. Even Xabi Alonso, when he was sacked, he had won 20 matches and not won 8 matches. Of those 8 matches, about 5 withdrawals, only a few defeats, around 3. So the standards are very high at Real Madrid. But currently, they are only sitting a point below Barcelona. Barcelona, everyone is showering praises to them, but Real Madrid are only a point away. And Real Madrid will take this going into the stretch for the title of the season. And they are about 13 or so matches still to go. So I feel Real Madrid are still good value for money. They're still in the Champions League. We know they come to life. They almost spring to life when it's those knockout competitions. And in the Champions League, Real Madrid, there's almost a certainty they go into it as favorites, especially if it's the knockout stages. So I feel Real Madrid have a chance. Arbeloa obviously has been a good man manager in that Real Madrid team in typical fashion to what the likes of Carlo Ancelotti and Zinedine Zidane did, because a team like Real Madrid don't need to be coached. You can't coach anything to Kylian Mbappe. It's obviously just man management, just ensuring the confidence is right and the guys get going. So I feel Madrid has got everything to obviously go for all the titles. Obviously, they are not happy. They lost the Supercopa to Barcelona, but there's still a lot of football to be played, and Real Madrid are going to have a say in that.
That's it. We can go on and on. But lastly, I'm going to ask you this. There is the second leg of the Carabao Cup on this coming week. Arsenal play host to Chelsea. Newcastle also travel to play City in the second leg. Do you see any changes to the team that are already leading in this going into the first major piece of silverware that is it going to be anything other than Arsenal and Manchester City?
Okay, it's a difficult one because obviously the teams, the favorites in those ties, respectively, that is City and Arsenal, won away from home. So if you're Chelsea, you're losing to Arsenal at home at Stamford Bridge, and you have to go all the way to Emirates. This is an Emirates where Arsenal only lost one match the entire season to Manchester United. I don't see Chelsea coming away with the result. I think it's not going to change. Equally, so City, they've got the insurance goal. They got 2 goals away at Newcastle. So if it was probably a single goal in it, City have been inconsistent and they're neither here nor there, and it's so difficult to tell which City is going to turn up on a match day. So I feel for that particular reason, Newcastle, because of that insurance goal, I think they're going to come short. I saw the way they played at Anfield against Liverpool. They didn't really show that grit, that desire to say they can go to one of these stadiums and get a result. So to answer you directly, I don't think anything is going to change from what we saw in the first leg of these fixtures.
All right, I think that is all we had for you. That is Power Sports. I'm Ronald Arufandika and
Mthokozisi Ngulube.
Ciao, ciao.